The Nature Connections Committee of UPC took a guided tour with Randy Saxon, who was pastor at the time our property was acquired. Randy was involved in the purchase of the property and laid out the master plan for trails, gardens, and nature identification. When the church acquired this property, this building was here. That was it, just a building and a parking lot. The parking lot was about a quarter the size of this parking lot. Everything was here in front. Everything behind it was like woods and underbrush and more woods and underbrush and more woods. Because of the size of the lot, the government said you can only be a nonprofit for tax purposes for a religious organization if you can show that you're going to use the entire property for religious purposes. So Randy came down to the property and began to walk it and decided where things would be. He said, this is the area for Bible study. This is where we'll have the memorial garden. This is where we can have sunrise services. And this is how the campus design was started. This is an aerial view of the property in 2003. It shows the smaller parking lot. In the upper left corner, you can see the steeple from the First Presbyterian Church on the ground where it was temporarily placed before the sanctuary was constructed. This is the current map of the 10-acre UPC campus, 15 years after the property was purchased, and how it looked on the day of the walk with Randy. Northmore Road is the top of the map. The original church on the map is the size of the building when purchased. The sanctuary was added later. The numbers on the map match the Nature Connections brochure. Randy led the group on the west side of the parking area, beginning with the number 1 along the Big Hollow Creek, which is also part of the UPC campus. Then to the creek trail and the gazebo. The group turned east across the footbridge at the Pollinator Garden, walked past Heritage Grove, past the garden, and then entered the woods on the Woods Trail. The trail ends with another footbridge. The group then walked north towards Northmore Road along the Nature Explorer outdoor classroom, past the mud kitchens, the water feature, the bird reserve, and then through the gate to the Memorial Garden, ending at the linden tree near Northmore Road.
Well, we have a good flow. Okay. The kids love this. They say, "You have a waterfall at your church?" And I say, "Well,
Sort of.
It's where I'm one side of it."
Yeah.
So yeah. So most of the time, unless we have a really hot summer, you would know, most of the time, this actually began way up out of Peoria. Way up there. And the second year that I was here as the pastor, and we were building up things here, I was down in the creek when the water was down again. And I was coming over a little bit less than that. I had my boots on, and I was walking around, and I looked down, and I saw a long stick, like a hiking stick. It was pretty shot up. And then something caught my eye, and it was from a beaver.
Oh.
So I checked out with some of the people up at the far end, and they said, yeah, we've had beavers, but not recently, and so they're gone. But I thought, oh my gosh.
Right here in the middle of the city.
Right in the middle of the creek, in the middle of the city, there used to be way up there. So that was here's what I use to help them begin to understand about different kinds of things. So it was a message board for the Boy Scouts, but the idea I had was that if we could get something like this, then we could give it to them for the rest of their life if they study it, and they can go out, and then they can begin to see which kind of trees do we have. And also right here, this is the Gettysburg information. This is actually, we have a tree that is 100% bona fide at Gettysburg, from Gettysburg. And it was a small tree that came down and by it, but that particular thing, if you read down to it, you will find out that 2005. Yeah.
Yeah, 2005.
Right there, and they took a branch off at the place we leave, and they let you have it. And down here, this tells about American forest. Like we have some of the things that we have out there. In the back, people can come up and walk up to that beautiful thing we have just before you go into the kids' place, and you just stop for a second and you read and you think, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. So, and this tells a whole lot about this tree. And this is one of the most present trees here in the Midwest that there are so many different towns and cities who put this for their lead tree. And that's amazing.
That's a black walnut?
It is black walnut. They're worth money.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. And when we were doing the stuff over here, I asked, before the current one, I asked when we were starting with this place, I said, should we keep these trees right here because those are walnuts? Somewhere down the line, if the church chose to do that, you could get some money from it. Okay? So because there are flower here, and I wrote that down, and these are coming up naturally. These were not planted like from some other place. Okay, they're just coming up naturally, which is the whole idea. And I'll point to a couple things here more as we go along, and we'll show you different things. Look at this beautiful bit right here of moss.
I see it.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah. Is there a rock underneath it? It's amazing.
There might be some rock under there, but if you try to pick it up, it'll probably break.
Now, what is that flower?
I'll get it back here.
Okay.
So we got to call this Walnut Grove,
Yeah.
number 3.
Walnut Grove.
Yeah, this is where for a number of years, before Randy retired, especially for the older people who couldn't walk very well, you would have Bible study here in the Walnut Grove. And so they would, they could come just real close from the parking lot, and they'd have chairs set up out here so they could have Bible study. This sign shows that this church is officially a wildlife habitat. You have a string of things that you have to do to make it that. So I started that on the very first week when we got the property. And everybody thought, well, what are you going down into the woods for? I said, I'm just looking for stuff. And that was one of the things, was for people to be able to come in, not to rush them up front, but just to let them come in and see, as we're walking now, beautiful flowers, some different kinds of things. And this tells you that we are actually certified if you read this. And it's from the National Wildlife. And I'm going to trim this back a little better so people can see it. Okay? This is right here. This is a black walnut. Anybody know what this is? Black oak. Black locust is the right answer. Yes.
And that's a red bud that you said you were going to trim.
Might not want to trim the red bud.
I love that.
Okay, here we go. Any questions? It's a little bit different than what we had, but it was getting lots of stuff, grass and other kinds of things, and with the good help of
Adopt a garden. Adopt a garden.
the Adopt a Garden, yes.
Uh-huh.
We had some folks come in from the church, and for free, for good labor, and they just realigned this a little bit. But what that is, if you look at it, I used to climb up trees, but I can't do that anymore. So
But if you look at it, it's just kind of around like this and then sweeping right down there.
One purple and there's another purple over here.
Yeah.
Yes, purple was some of the original, and they had some brown ones, but they checked it all out. Here's what we're really looking for, though, is not that particular way. We're looking for this. You ever smell one of these?
Mm.
Oh man. Yeah. Down here, this is a northern red oak. Red oaks are really beautiful trees, but they're very easily, they get into trouble.
They're sensitive?
Yeah, there are hundreds of different kinds of trees, but the red oak is kind of going down in a lot of the places, and there are so many kinds of diseases. There are hundreds and hundreds of them that are taken after this. So it's really this plant right here is not our friend. This is down here at the base. Hold it. And if you take a hold of it carefully, straight up, turn it around. These are also killing some places around the country, especially in woodlands. And what this does, it's hard to believe, but this one little plant right here, about 1,000 little tiny seeds will come out of here as soon as all of the white little flower is gone. So you can see, I'll show you close up here. Here it is, okay? And then here, this is where the seeds are. And you start to think about all of this.
It's wild garlic mustard.
That's the wild mustard here. This is a hoot and holler. You ready?
Oh, that sticker flipping.
Yeah. Oh, that thing right there.
Oh, we got it.
Oh, so sticky. Bed straw.
This is what was very much loved by some of the first people that came over to America. And what this is, yeah, it's a kind of straw, and and the reason it sticks is because it grows very fast. It can climb trees, it can go along the ground, and it's very happy back in the day, way back, because this is what a lot of the pioneers used
For their bedding.
for their mattress
Yeah.
or bedding.
Bed straw.
Yeah, and that's why they call
It's
it
called
bed
straw.
straw. These are wonderful little trees. They make a tiny berry, but you can tell by the color. There's some purplish color there. Right here, see how it starts? Very, very pretty. And it's one of the places, kind of trees that a lot of people like to put in their garden because it's very easy to offset things and have the nice things down here because you're not worrying about some of the other things up there, like the walnuts. But these grow up to be very nice. And these were gifts to the church by some people in the church. And these little bit of a cleaning here. But you can come here and sit down, and then you could do this whole thing and think you were in some big park. Okay, really. And how about these beautiful lilies?
Yeah.
These are very
Irises.
often
called a
Irises.
water iris. isn't it?
irises, yes, down here. That's right. And look at this. And when we were first here, when we got the building, one of the things that we needed to do, which the government required was you can't move the big piles of dirt over here. This was way back, but they were taking out skimming out up on the top so that we were room to put houses in there. And then they took the good stuff away, which is what they do. And then the rest of it, they brought down here. And we had things almost as big as the lower part right up here of the gazebo. And they were just like piles. And they went all the way up, way far up in there. And they came way out here. And the reason they could do that was, this was once a farm, and it got sold, and then it just became a wood factory. Sometimes we have nests up
The
here.
swallow nests.
Now right now, this is a wonderful place.
There have been proposals here in the gazebo. It is not uncommon to drive in and see a couple sitting in here or find somebody on their knee and making a proposal, not even members of the church. So many people enjoy this property. They just, I mean, every time we're within about a mile of this place, we have to drive this way because somebody insists on it. So we have seen over the years just a wild panoply of people that love this location.
There's been a lot of prom pictures.
Oh,
And
tons
wedding
of,
pictures.
yeah. Prom and wedding. Anything?
And you still own the place. You can look at it. This is the tree that came,
From Gettysburg?
yeah, when I went to Gettysburg, after I'd seen that, because I work with a forester.
There's a sign on this side.
Yeah, I know. So what happened is, we got it, and I was about this tall when I planted this tree. Isn't that crazy? You cross the bridge, as they say. Here comes some daisies, just getting ready to bloom, and this is how she marks them, which is really cool. So,
So this is an adopt a garden by Teresa Bewley
that's correct. That's
and the
exactly.
Pugh family.
Yeah, and if you ever have, I call this the girls over here, okay? Because if you ever have a need to know something, all you have to do is come over here and do that and ask her. Okay, keep moving. Part of what was left of the church that burned when I was here. And First Presbyterian Church, it says 1888.
Did that come from downtown?
That was the third church.
Yeah.
The church originally, a group of Presbyterians came across the mountains, across the rivers to get out into this area. And they were, in 1834, they were the first Presbyterians in this part of the state. And that's it. So they were able to get this out. Nick Knott did a triple
Duty,
good job
yeah.
on this. It needs some work now, so that'd be a nice little place to do something. And if I could really, what I would do right here is I would just reach back and lift this up, okay? And it would be like this, because I would be standing right in the front door.
This was the original front entry.
Yeah.
And he had to go out and find all the stones at different places, and some they got on site, but he did it. And so every brick here
Came from the old church.
was in the fire. Every brick. You know what this is?
Those are May apples.
That's right, mayapple. And this pretty little flower goes with it, and it will come up a little bit more, and one of the nice things about these particular plants is that once they get settled in a place, they're very happy to be there. And then you'll find out, holy smokes, how many do we have now? Okay, because this is just the kind of area that they like. The soil is good. They don't have any enemies to come after them. Yes. Isn't that nice? Well, just watch. Here it is.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, Jack in the Pulpit.
Oh,
This is Jack in the pulpit.
in the pulpit.
3 leaves, okay? And as they first start growing, they're okay, but then they split. So you have one here and over here, and the roots down there. They don't like you messing with their roots, but they'll give you a very beautiful plant when this comes out. And so this is like the tongue. And what happens as we get into the fall, they have, it's about that big, and it's real tight. It's like taking a little boy's about like this, okay? And it's completely surrounded by brilliant colored red, orange.
Red.
Yeah, red is most productive. And they call this by this name because you have the Trinity, which is a Christian thing. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3. And you also have what they had when they didn't have all the fancy stuff for preachers up in front of the church. The preacher would go up and would take another step or 2 up so that he could see everybody and they could see him. In fact, when I graduated from Princeton, I got to go up there and stand up there and make a little thing for them. So what happens is, this is what was out above the preacher in those days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the little
if you look back in history, you can see. And if they didn't have it, this is a nice place to sit, seriously. If you're just coming here like on a weekend or something, or just for lunch, or just to talk to a friend, or just to enjoy it. What is nice about these benches is they are really good. Look here. This is Solomon's seal. Right here.
Yeah.
And so you see it right here. And when somebody's really famous and very important in the days of yore in many countries of the world, way back, okay, if they were, quote, above you and you were to go in, this is what you would do. Just like
Bow. Bend over.
And that's why Solomon comes from the Bible all the way out here. Solomon's seal.
Let's call that a number.
I thought some of those were trillions to start with. Maybe Jack.
Okay, I want to show you something.
Another beautiful cherry.
Yes, good eyes, very good. I want to show you something here. Okay, so the little kids come through there. You can tell them that, you can say to them, I want to show you something really special, really pretty, and I think you'll like it. And here's where it is, right here. Okay? See it again? Okay, so imagine the little boy or girl there. Then you just say, and right over here are his brothers and sisters. And right up here and here is their cousin. And frankly, the more you sit quietly and look and study, it's amazing how much is in here.
I am.
And we'll take care of all of this for the brothers.
Do you want that sitting in the
Starting in 2011, the UPC Discovery Preschool Program, working with the Nature Rangers, began the development of the Nature Explorer Classroom. Our children today are growing up in a world without an understanding of nature and how it impacts their daily lives. In the Nature Classroom, children are able to explore the natural world under the guidance of their teachers through interactions with various learning centers. A pergola entry feature at one end and a trellis over a berm welcomes children to play in the centers. In the messy materials area, children can dig in the dirt, construct with sticks and logs, and get messy. Lots of children work together to build structures or search for bugs and worms. Natural materials like logs, sticks, tree cookies, and mulch provide children with opportunities for construction and play. The nature art area enables children to examine a variety of natural materials like pine cones, stones, sticks, and leaves. They can use these materials to create natural art designs. Easels provide opportunities for them to study the surrounding woods and meadows and represent their observations through paintings and drawings. The nature music area is a place where children can recreate the sounds they hear in nature using the marimba, tongue, and snap drums. The children can respond to natural sounds they hear and create their own musical interpretations. The treehouse is a place for large groups of children to gather for a story, class meeting, or creative movement. Its dual purpose as a treehouse also invites children to create their own environment using large pieces of cloth to create forts. Mud Kitchen offers more than just an area to dig into soil. It brings together cooking with life-size utensils and role play from a home and outdoor environment into one sensory experience. The Waterfall was installed in the spring of 2014. The Waterfall invites children of all ages to gather and enjoy the sounds of gently flowing water. Children have discovered frogs and water bugs making their homes in the protected border of the waterfall.
Everybody knows the memorial garden here. And you can see we've had a lot of for our country. But anybody that wants to be buried here can. And it's a lot less than the whole program. I cannot begin to tell you how many times in my ministry, and even since when I'm here sometimes, I will see people that I don't even know